Okay, we're going to learn some prayerful learning, please God. We're going to continue our learning Hishtapchut HaNefesh, Bezat Hashem. It's the 27th of May. It's the 28th day of Iyar, which is also the art site of Shmuel HaNavi, Navi Shmuel, and also a large percentage of Am Yisrael celebrates this as the day of that we re-established our presence and control over Yerushalayim. Also, the learning tonight, please God, will be in this hood of this learning. We should see a healing for Chaya Bat Beah. We should see healing for Ephraim Yisrael Ben Osnat, who's also imprisoned, and Hashem, please release him from the bondage, along with Jonathan Pollard, Shalom Rabashkin, and anybody else who's imprisoned. If there's anybody else that needs to be said that's needing healing, so for along with all of Am Yisrael. Harinim kasher to me, believe towards the call of tzadikim ametim shebneim and call of tzadikim ametim shloch ne'avar kedoshim asher rotzei b'frad lebeinu kadosh tzadik yisrael l'olam nachman v'mekol chokhma Rebbe Nachman v'gin Nachman v'nachman tzchusam yigenu le'in kol Yisrael. Amen. Okay, here we go. Now, last week we were learning about the korban mincha, the mincha offering, the flower offering, and one of the things that he said is that this was such a deep secret, this korban mincha offering, because it says the mincha is the flower offering, and it means that a poor person who couldn't afford to buy a regular animal would be able to still have a way to offer a sacrifice, and it was just this offering of flour, right? But we know that there's no such thing as poor except in da'at. In other words, remember we said da'at is the ability to recognize Hashem's presence moment to moment. That's called da'at. And most of us go through the world with very, very little da'at. So one of the goals that we're looking to get out of prayer, we're trying to come to the place, what does it mean be closer to Hashem? It means, one of the things it means to be closer to Hashem is to remember Him more often in my daily goings-on, that He's the one who's creating this daily goings-on, that if I'm aware of that, I'm going to be, wow, this life is very cool. Even if it's uncomfortable, if I'm aware of Hashem is creating every moment and it's full of secrets and the names and a certain perfection that if I could see it, I'd be really blissed out. That's the goal. That's what I want to get more and more. Right? So we're talking about having da'at, the awareness of Hashem. So he says that last week the whole thing, that this korban mincha is the main thing about it, is that it's an amazing thing that Hashem gave somebody who doesn't have da'at the ability to be raised up. That's what it means. Poor meaning lack of da'at. Right? So, because what this means, he says, is that even the prayer of the poor person, the person who's far away from holiness, far away from purity, maybe he's stuck in the muck of some sort of sin, maybe he's a kleptomaniac, maybe he can't stop stealing, who knows, there's all sorts of crazy things that are going on in the world now. Maybe he's stuck in, God forbid, Pagam and Bris, and he can't stop defiling himself, and there are people who are addicted in that way. There's so many different things that you said that the person who's in that place might say, oh my gosh, what chance do I have that God's going to hear my prayer? I'm so low. I'm so far away from any type of truth. I can't stop. There's a sickness, right? Anybody who knows anybody who's has an addiction or knows or has been worked with addiction or knows somebody who has addiction knows it's an insanity. There's something that pulls a person in, and that person goes into a place of very great despair. And so that person would come along and think, I don't have a chance. So Rebbe Nachman teaches, no, that's the korban ani. And not only is this korban ani so great, the korban mincha, which is the tefillat ani, which is the prayer of the poor person, right? So why? And he said this offering was such an amazing compassion that every other offering had to be offered in its completion, like the full animal, but this could be divided into two and offer one at one time in the morning, one in the evening. And so you could actually divide this up. So that was an amazing thing. What does that mean as far as what Rebbe Nachman's teaching? Is that even if your prayer is half-hearted, Even if your prayer is not all there, you think, I've been learning all these things about prayer and I'm still not able to do it. We talked about sitting quietly. We talked about moaning. We talked about saying thank you or trying to feel thank you. We talked about how the ideal is when a person has words like burning coals and they're able to talk to Hashem about everything in their life and everything they need. That's certainly the goal. But what if you don't have that? So he's saying this mincha prayer, this mincha offering was so precious. The sages said it was an amazingly high, precious offering, and that this was a secret. Right? It says that that Avraham Vinu was a prophet, and Hashem actually let Avraham know about all the korbanot that were going to be offered in the Beit HaMikdash. But the sages say that the mincha offering, the korban mincha, was either one of two opinions. Either it was not, Hashem didn't tell Avraham at all, or he gave it to him, he told it to him as a hint. So there was something about it that kind of like tickled my mind. And what is it? Well, why is that? What does that mean that the korban mincha is such a secret that it had to be hidden from Avraham Avinu? Why would that be? Right? So I was realizing that, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov and all the people who lived at that time, the Jews, Am Yisrael that lived at that time, couldn't fathom how far Am Yisrael was going to fall away from Kedusha. I think that now that we're in our time, and Rebbe Nachman came along and taught us about this whole idea of why there's this fall, and for the sake of raising up, and that's how the main building of the entire world will come, is through that falling into the deepest depths and seeing that Hashem created that also. That we got it by falling, we got a chance to see that Hashem created everything, including the darkness, including the dirt, right? So that was necessary, but Am Yisrael, from the very beginning, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were so sensitive to Kedusha, were so sensitive to Tahara. All the people that came through, there was this awareness that we can't even begin to fathom. That is normal, as a matter of fact, to even scoff at that. Oh, sure, yeah, they were no different than I am. No, there was a difference. There was something called Kedusha. There was something called Tahara. And there have even been people, less and less people as the generations went on, but that could easily feel the Kedusha, the holiness of the Tahara, the purity of a place. The story of Rav Moshe Feinstein, the Gadol Ador, the last generation, years before that Times Square became a decadent place, was driving with his driver, and he told his driver to go around that area because he perceived with Ruach HaKodesh that it was going to be an area of decadence, of impurity, of spiritual degradation, and so he perceived that. So Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were certainly people who perceived that. That's why they were prophets. They received information. They saw what the unfolding of Hashem's will was in front of them, and they were going to be the progenitors of a nation that was going to fulfill Hashem's will in a very high and special way, which included having a Beit HaMikdash, a temple, etc. Right? So it's an idea. It stands to reason that Avraham could not fathom the depth that Am Yisrael was going to have to fall to, and that Hashem would still be with us. Right? And that had to be a secret, because if it was known, then game over. All right, so what? So then what do I have to work so hard for? Right? If Am Yisrael is going to fall and Hashem's going to be with us and He's going to forgive us, then what do I have to work so hard to be kadosh for? What do I have to work so hard to be tahor for? I don't know. That's maybe one thing. That's why it has to be kept secret. We know the same thing. The same idea is why the Zohar had to be kept secret. That Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wrote it, and 1,000 years later it was revealed, because it wasn't dark enough in the world yet to reveal the Zohar. The Zohar is too much light. See, as soon as there's too much light, as soon as it's obvious that there's God, game over. No more free choice. Right? So Hashem wanted the main thing, to keep free choice intact. So He had to keep all this secret of what the unfolding of His will would be. Okay. How's that? Everybody like that? I was grateful for the Chiddush. By the way, that's the type of thing for me, and other people who've been doing this tell me this is similar. That my experience has been, when I put all of these different parts that we've been learning about together, to make sure I have a feeling, to silently scream that feeling, to to say the words of what it is that I'm wanting to draw close to Hashem and things like that, I have found that my mind becomes open, just ideas pop into my head, or something nudges me and things like that. And then I'll pray about what it is and receive chidushim. And I'm not the only one. I'm not, people, oh, you're on a high. I'm not, I promise I'm not any higher than, and as a matter of fact, probably in many ways, I'm a lot less than most people who are watching this. But I get these chidushim because that's what the nature of the world is. And if you will do these activities of service that we've been learning aloud, and open your heart and learn to be vulnerable with your Creator and to really have a relationship, then He will send you His secrets, His love letter, His delights. And that's what Rebbe Nachman says. And I, in my own little way, whatever little informative pieces I get, I love the chidushim. I cherish them as such a precious and special gift. And I bless everybody that you should all experience this, because it is that precious. And I'll even say a prayer right now, Rebbe Shalom, please bless all of my brothers and sisters to have at least the experience of receiving chidushim, the whatever little bit you've given me, that they should taste for this and give them even more. It's a free gift from Yotzei, not chinam. Okay, so we're going to learn inside. We're on chapter 98, heading into the home stretch of Hishtapchut HaNefesh. We're going to make a siyum, please God, in the cup within the next 3 weeks. 98 is Tzadik Chet, and this is a short one, but it has very much to do with what we just talked about a few minutes ago, and you'll hear what I'm saying in a minute. So here we go. Ikar Shmiras HaZikaron. The main way that we guard our memory, we were just talking about what we said before, is like, how often are we aware of Hashem in our day? Okay, it's easy, and believe me, I'm right up there with everybody who forgets. I hope you remember more than I do, but I'm going around my activities, and I'm not in that awareness what we were talking about before, about really perceiving Hashem as the one who's orchestrating everything that's happening, right? So as I've been praying for this, and that's what we were talking about before, is praying for this ability to remember. Now Rebbe Nachman is going to give it. Not only do you have the option to pray for the ability to remember Hashem, but the main way to remember Hashem's godliness and His mastery over the world, and not to forget Him ever, hu al yedei diburim kedoshim, is to speak holy words. Ki diburim hem kelim lekabel al yadam his noitzes or ein sof yisparach. Because speaking holy words, the words themselves, are vessels to receive through their. But in other words, you have to have, if something's flowing, if you want to have some water and the water's flowing by, you're going to need some vessel, whether it's a cup or a bucket or your hand, excuse me, some vessel in order to be able to benefit from that water. Otherwise, as nice as that water is, you don't have any way to do anything with it. So you need a vessel. The same. That's exactly the way it is with light. Okay, we need a vessel to receive and to be able to benefit from the sparks of holy light, of infinite light, I should say, infinite light that Hashem created, that shines into the world, that gives us our vitality, that gives us our joy, that gives us our happiness. Everybody's looking to feel happy. The main happiness comes from the experience of the shining of the infinite light into the heart in a way that it can be received, and in not too great a measure that would end up damaging. So, and every time, the more a person speaks holy words, the more he draws and opens up a revelation of godliness in the world, So in other words, if godliness is being broadcast, just like you walk down the street and you see advertisements and billboards, and you remember, okay, there's Reebok and there's Heinz ketchup and there's whatever else you're seeing, perfume and everything like that. That's what they want you to do. You're remembering everything, but you're going to see it, and so that's what you're looking for, and that's what they want you to think you need their product in order to be able to have a happy life. Right? But what if every billboard, what if everything that you saw was walking down the street was glowing with godliness, and it was an attesting to godliness? Then you'd certainly remember. So what happens is these words that we speak become vessels to hold the light of that consciousness, and then we start actually seeing the godliness and everything that's around us, and we remember Hashem more and more. Therefore, it's very important to speak a lot of words of Torah and prayer, and don't be silent, and don't be quiet, and don't be another type of silent, right? Because you have to have a lot of holy words. In order to merit, to receive this great light. And we're talking, you know how much light that is, people? My brothers, sisters, you know how much light it is to have awareness of Hashem all the time? One of the reasons that people don't do it is that because they're just trying to be with other people who don't have that awareness of Hashem, it's just too much. And so it's a lot of light. So therefore, if you want to have this light, and why would you want to have this light? Because it's the joy. Because it's the highest, it's what we're all looking for. Whatever we're looking for to feel good, we're going to feel good the more we access or Ein Sof. That's what Rebbe Nachman is trying to teach us. And that's what Hashem wants for us. To be able to attach to true pleasure, the pleasure of being attached to Hashem. So how do we do that? We create the vessels for it. How? Speaking a lot of words of Torah and prayer. Never being silent. And to tie it well, to anchor it, to make it in his mind and his heart, so that he never forgets the thoughts of the awareness of Hashem and the feeling of joy that comes from the awareness of the oneness of Hashem and that everything is absolutely perfect. And would never ever forget him. So what does that mean? That means, a lot of people think that you have to learn Torah, that the goal of learning Torah is to become smart. Or they think that you have to be able to remember what you learned to be able to give it over. And otherwise that's not, what good is my learning? Right? And it's very nice to remember it, and it's a good thing, and it's certainly something to aspire to be able to remember Torah and teach it over. And there's certainly also the inyan of Torah as we're learning, like halacha. What do we do? What should I do? Okay, that's one very important reason for learning Torah. But the other important reason, besides that, the main reason for learning Torah is to speak holy words, to create the vessel so that we can appreciate and become aware of godliness in every moment. And from that awareness of godliness, then we're more and more able to and more in tune with His will, which is as expressed in the Torah. So that's the reason for Torah and Tefillah, and we need to pray to be able to learn so that we can pray. Rebbe Nachman talks about, and we're going to see this later again, is that he talks about that the most important way to complete prayer, in other words, to have an absolute full structure of prayer, is when you learn some Torah and then turn it into prayer. And we've talked about in the past as well. So these are the types of things. So a lot of Tehillim and the Psalms, Hitbodedut is holy words. That's why a person who does a lot of Hitbodedut, practicing talking to Hashem, and as we've said before, it always bears repeating, to say it out loud. To make sure that you say these words out loud, even if it's, like we learned last week, even if it's a half a word, to make a sound, to try to get something out of your mouth. Those holy words will provide the vessel to receive more appreciation, awareness of, and experience of godliness and the joy that comes with it. And that's what we want. So we have to really pay attention and stop the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is going to try to come and tell us, no, what we want is to go learn how to jet ski. What we want is to go parachuting. What we want is to do physical bodily cleansing, and there is to that. But that becomes the ikar for a lot of people. I want to run the marathon. That's what I want. Okay, very nice things, but really what I want is dveikut. What I want is that feeling that makes me want to run the marathon. That feeling that makes me want to do the transformational gate with Donald Epstein. Whatever it is that makes me feel good, that I'm looking to try to do so that I can feel good, is rooted everything in dveikut with Hashem. And that can be found, but we don't believe in it enough. And we're used to the Yetzer Hara yelling at us that this is what we want. No, this down the billboards that advertise. That's what we're used to. So that's why this needs to be repeated all the time, over and over and over, every single day. We'll easily forget, and we'll go through our lives wasting our precious time because we didn't remember that, wow, everything's full of godliness, and I have another opportunity to make a connection to something eternal in this moment. That's what we want. Okay, that's Tzadik Chet. If you want, we can do one more. Yes? Would you like one more? Okay. I know Abraham's a trooper. Tzadik Tet. 99. Mevua Belikutei Aleph. Siman Reish Lamed Zayin. In the first section of Likutei Moharan, Torah 237, it says, Ikarit Bodedut Shnei Hitchabrut, Hitchabrus Shnei Dvarim Shehem Kimo Shnei Hafachim Hu Al Yedei Nigun. The main way you join two things that are opposite together is through melody. And that's why music is the universal language. It draws everybody, no matter what their background, can appreciate and experience music and have a joy for music together. And this is what Leah said. This is the underlying meaning of what Leah said when she gave birth to Levi. And Levi is the aspect of the Sitra de Niguna. Levi is the one that his descendants, his tribe, Levi, were the ones whose job and whose absolute spiritual essence was to make music in the Beit HaMikdash, in the temple. And so what did Leah say? She said, Apam yilaveh ishi elai. Then this time, my husband will be brought to accompany on me, to be with me. And this is the by the way, so let's go back and say that. So what did she say? She said this time, basically, Leah was the hated wife by Yaakov, and she deeply wanted her husband, and she felt like, if now I've given him another son, and this time he will want to accompany me. Why all of a sudden now he'll want to be with me? So what Rebbe Nachman is saying here is that it's because the Levi was the embodiment, the spiritual embodiment of music, of nigun, of melody, and because of that, Yaakov will be drawn to be with Leah because of that melody, as it says that melody draws things together, makes a connection. And this is the reason, he says, and this is the secret behind why we have live bands, why we have instruments and music at a wedding. So you thought, did anybody ever stop to think about this? Where did it ever come from? Where did it ever come from that people got married and everybody dances and makes a big celebration? Who thought of that? Where was this idea that comes from getting married in the first place, of making a ceremony and that there's something called making a union? Where did that come from? Because this is from our deepest secrets of what we do, of our understanding that right and left are absolute opposites, and that the main thing, and a man is right side and the woman is left side, and one of the main things we're here to do in the world is bring opposites together, to make unifications. So that's why we get married, and the main power that makes opposites come together is music. So therefore, there's music in the wedding. Also, dancing there's many secrets about why dancing and things like that. But the secret of why there's music in the wedding is this idea. Valken ikar hadchibur v'advekus l'shem yisbarach שהוא מרומם ונשקף מאוד מזה העולם השפל לגשמי הנמוך מאוד. Therefore, the main way that we connect to Hashem, like we were talking about, to be able to experience this Or Ein Sof, this infinite light. Because wait a minute, how can we possibly connect to Hashem? Hashem's so exalted and so elevated, and He's way outside of this lowly world that's so physical and coarse and so very far down from the refined pure light of the infinite light. Afilu למי שחטא ונתרחק מאוד מאביו שבשמיים הוא רק and so I'm saying, so he said the only way we can bridge this gap And even afilu, even for the person who's so far down, even the person who's so full of sins, and he's so far away from his Father in heaven, hurak al yedei sefer tilim. So the main thing he says is that you want to come close, you want to bridge the gap, say Psalms. Because why? That King David is the one who was the main founder and composer of the Psalms. And that our sages said about Psalms, our sages said that Psalms is all the entire body of Psalms includes all the 10 different types of music, 10 different types of melody. That's a deep secret in Kabbalah. What is the 10 types of melody? Whatever they are, the sages said that they are absolutely and completely embodied in the entire book of Psalms, of Tehillim. And this we see with our own eyes, with our own senses. That even the person who's so far away from Hashem, God forbid, and he's sitting in the lowest levels, God forbid, most of the time, if he comes and starts making a little song, and he's really wishes that he could. His kavanah is to heaven. He wants to go to a higher place of connection. He really wishes to come out. So he sings a song. What happens is through that he becomes aware. He's aware of God, becomes great. It explodes into awareness, and he realizes, and he looks at himself. And he was so disconnected, he's so low, so he didn't even realize how far he had fallen. And suddenly that melody opens up his heart, and he realizes, look, I'm really so far. Because melody is the main way to join two different things. And we're talking about this guy very low, to be able to join with the awareness of Hashem's presence. Shehem k'mo shnei hafachim. They're like two opposites. Kein al yedei amiras Tehillim. And so this is the way truth about saying Tehillim, about saying Psalms. Shekalu mikol asar minei negina. That Psalms is composed of all the different types of melody. Bevadai yecholim lizdabek ulitzchaber al Hashem yisbrach beikol makom shu. You can always connect to Hashem no matter where you are. So if you've never sat down and read Psalms, I highly recommend it. Rebbe Nachman, who am I? Rebbe Nachman is telling you, do this. This is the type of thing that you want to include in your spiritual pursuit. If you're not used to it, it takes some time. What do you mean I'm going to just open and read Psalms? Yeah, you're just going to open and read Psalms. Just say the words. What if you don't read Hebrew so well? So you got two choices. If you read Hebrew a little bit, you can try to struggle through and say some words, which is a very good thing to do. Or you can go ahead and try to, or say it out loud in the translation, which is also good. Or you can do both. Try for a little while to say some words, just whatever you can, and then next time, by the way, you get a chance to do Ibodedut, or while you're in the Psalms themselves, just have in your heart a yearning and that Hashem should give you the gift of being able to understand and read and understand Hebrew. So that's why you're saying the Psalms. So let there be yearning in your heart. Know that you're saying these words that are full of the 10 types of melody, and that while you're making this, that by bringing this melody out of your mouth, you will be connecting yourself to Hashem, to God, and you will start feeling it. And the first time I ever actually experienced this was my first son Noach was his bris, and his bris was on Yom Tov Sukkot, on the first day of Sukkot. And we were cooking the entire thing, and it was a lot of work. Besides getting a sukkah ready, and besides daled minim, and all the things that you have to do for sukkahs, which is already, especially because back then for me it was only like maybe fourth or fifth sukkah since I had become dati. No, it was a little more than that, but it was still relatively new to make sure I'm doing everything and taking care of everything. There was so much pressure, and then on top of that the bris. And everything that went on with that. So I talked to my Rav, and I told him, he said, how are you doing? I said, I'm so overwhelmed. And he said, read some Psalms. And I thought, are you crazy? I have so much to do. Are you? That's what I thought. I didn't say that. Are you crazy? But I listened to him. I took a book of Psalms, and I just sat down and started reading them. And in no time at all, I felt such a peace and an ease in my being and a settling of my mind. It was so beautiful. So that's a very, very important and worthy piece of advice to follow. כן, שכלו מכל 10 מינים. גילה בוודאי יכולים להתאבק ולהתחבר מכל מקום שהוא, וזה גם כן בחינת פסוקי דזמרה. Now also, so this is one of the reasons why we have in the Shachrit prayer, right? Before we, the main part of, the main thing about Shachrit, two things, two mitzvahs that we have in Shachrit, to say Kriyat Shema, and according to the Mishnah, say it with the brachot that we say it with, and Shmona Esrei, which is the korban shachrit, right? So what is all these extra things that we do? These psukim, these psalms. Okay, it's the same thing, because see, we're coming to this place of devekut in the Shmona Esrei. So we're using this. We're saying these. We're filling our mouths with these words of psalms, which are the melody of the music. Shehem b'chinat negina. They are the melody. Sha'omrim kodem kriyat shema v'tefillah. And we say these psalms of psukim zimra before the kriyat shema and the Shmona Esrei. Ki al yedei zeh yuchal l'dabek atzmo b'shem yisbarach b'shad kriyat shema tefillah. Because through this, a person can cleave himself to his Creator, to Hashem, at the time of saying Kriyat Shema and Tefillah. Now, if you haven't experienced this, that's because you're saying the words without putting any heart into it, without paying attention to, oh, I'm saying these words and they contain music, and letting yourself feel the possibility, even if maybe whether you get music as if you can say the words and they come out musically, or just your awareness that they are music. That will create more of a connection, more of an opening, so that you can experience a deep sense of connection, and really it's an aspect of bliss, it's an aspect of unification during the time of Kriyat Shema and Shmona Esrei. Because that's the time of the main cleaving to Hashem we want to get to is in Kriyat Shema and in Tefillah and Shmona Esrei. And bless us, we should be zocheh to follow these pieces of advice, to say many psalms, to keep in our hearts that Hashem is with us all the time, and to make ourselves say words of prayer, holy words, to fill our mouths with holy words, so that we can remember more and more the presence of our Creator and how wonderful and amazing He is, creating every detail of every moment in such amazing perfection in a cosmic choreographed orchestration movie, whatever you want to call it, that if we were to see it, we would be blissed out, and King Yeratson will be forever. Thank you very much, and have a Chag Sameach next week. Is Shavuot, so we're not going to be getting together next week, but bless us that we should be able to receive Torah in its completion, in a full way, in a place of relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and with gratitude and joy and love, and we should be zocheh to see the Geula Shlema b'Meher of Yameinu.